Every police officer has stories. Some are funny, some are confronting, some you'll never read in a headline. Roger Mayer's had a long career in the Northern Territory and New South Wales Police Force, and he's got a few stories to tell. Tall tales and true, real Australian police stories. And yes, sometimes there are quiet shifts. They just don't make the podcasts. Or maybe some will.
Police, stop or I'll send the dog.
BKG, any dog on channel?
Dog 11 on channel, go.
Dog 11, a 10:15 Bear Street, Smithville, re-break and enter in progress.
Dog 11, copy, 5 minutes. Dog 11, off at the scene now. Person's decamping, releasing the dog.
This podcast contains discussions about real policing experiences, crime, prison, violence, and adult themes. Some episodes include coarse language and may not be suitable for listeners under 18. Stories shared on this podcast come from policing experiences in both the Northern Territory and New South Wales, including time spent working in the dog squad. Some stories involve Indigenous Australians due to the nature of policing work in the Northern Territory. These stories are shared from personal experience and are not intended to stereotype or disrespect any individual or community. Some names and identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to episode 4 of Tall Tales and True. I'm here with Roger Mayer, and we're going to talk this week about his posting to Nhulunbuy. Last week we talked about Roger moving from ACT up to the Northern Territory to complete his training program in the Northern Territory Police. He also got married, and now we're up to his first posting in the Northern Territory. How are you, Rog?
I'm very well, thanks, Deb. That was very good. Very nice of you to introduce me like that. Thank you.
So your first posting in the Northern Territory was to Nhulunbuy. Tell us, I guess, first of all, where is Nhulunbuy?
Good question. Nhulunbuy is on the Gove Peninsula. It's about 600 kilometres east of Darwin. If you look at the map of Australia, North Australia, it's sort of directly opposite where Cairns and Weipa would be, up that way.
Okay.
And you've got the Arafura Sea in the middle there. And it's a mining settlement, and they mine bauxite there. The company Nabalco have been mining bauxite, which goes in to make aluminium. Because it takes so much electricity to make aluminium, they would scrape the bauxite, process it, and it would get sent over to Europe, I think to Switzerland, where Camelco make aluminium, and that would come back to Australia as aluminium. We'd buy it back and get sent back here. And the Aboriginal clans there, the Gumaj people, Gumatj, or Rirajingu clan, they are. There's about 7 clans that are part of that community, leased the land to Nabalco for royalties, which is a great help to them. And the mining's been going on since the 60s, and they're just closing it down now. They're closing the site down. And they have to put it back to the way it was, re-establish all the landscape as it was.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, but when I went there, so it was a very remote place. The only way to get in was fly, and everything got brought in by barge. All the food and cars and everything got brought in on the barges run by Perkins.
So you couldn't actually drive there?
You couldn't. Only for a few weeks of the year there was a four-wheel drive track. Okay. And now they have a better, still a dirt road that goes across from Katherine. It's quite a big job. And the police job was to go and open the track every year in the dry season, because the wet season would be too wet to get across. And there's a couple of big river crossings you still have to do where you need a snorkel, and it's quite an epic. A lot of people did the drive, but you need a good four-wheel drive. And the town itself is beautiful.
Tell us about the town.
The town, lovely. It was about 2,500, 3,000 white population and 1,500 Indigenous people that lived out at Yirrkala Mission. Yirrkala Mission is about 20 kilometres outside of the township, and it was like most of the missions started by Uniting Church missionaries many, many years ago, probably in the 50s, 60s. They went there, set up a bit of a school, and there's bitumen roads throughout the town. It's a beautiful township. All the houses have been constructed out of prefab concrete, look like that Pebblecrete, with and all tied into the ground because they get cyclones there, with colorbond roofing that are screwed down, and the houses are actually cyclone proof. The ones that are, Nabalco built the town, and they have for their employees, there's a school there. There's the primary school, Nhulunbuy Primary, high school. We had a bakery. There was a shopping centre that had a Woolworths there. You couldn't get a lot of fresh things. They'd come in on the barge and a phone call would go around and all the people in the know would go down and get the fresh fruit that came in. There was long life milk, and when milk came in, it would come in frozen. Because there's no, as you can understand, there's no dairies in the Northern Territory itself. It comes across from Cairns, from the Malanda area over there where the dairies are, so it has to get flown in, and that'd go pretty quickly. So you learn to drink the UHT long. It was terrible milk. I didn't like it, and there was no such thing as oat milk or soy milk. Really. It was just this UHT long life milk was terrible. So I used to have black tea. Got used to having black tea.
Yeah, black tea's all right. I don't mind that.
And it's surrounded by beautiful water and white sandy beaches, and it looks idyllic. But the big problem is that you've got crocodiles, you've got stingers, and the Crocs ate most of the sharks. So we don't have a problem with sharks, but we have during the dry season, we have the box jellyfish, which are deadly. And you get stung by them, you're going well to hurt. Crocodiles, of course, were not as prolific as they are now, because they were getting shot out till the 60s, and now the populations have exploded.
So it's even worse up there.
Even worse up there it would be now. There's a lot of problems. The Carl around Darwin, there's crocodiles everywhere. You just cannot turn your back without running into a crocodile.
Great.
So it was lovely. We used to fly in, so everything got flown in. We got flown in on plane. Cars came in on the barge. And Nabalco really looked after their staff and the employees, and they got free housing and free electricity. We, as part of the Northern Territory Police, got housing as well. We got free housing. You paid a rent for some furniture, and the electricity was expensive like it here is today. But in the scheme of things, it wasn't too bad. There was the single men's quarters, which was called Gove House, and that was directly opposite the police station. And then there was another single men's quarters called Captain Cook, which was for the contractors, and that was a lot rougher. There's a story in the book that I've written. It's going to be revised edition. We'll talk about with a story of a fellow in there named Jackie Willie. And there was the old camp was called Wallaby Beach Camp, and we had Contractors Village, and that was a conglomeration of not as well built houses. And Wallaby Beach and Ski Beach, Wallaby Beach was the old original settlement that was out near the plant. And the Nabalco plant, huge plant, and with a long wharf going out because the ships would come in to load up the bauxite and take it offshore.
Okay, so were the houses that the police officers lived in built also by the company?
Yes, they were.
Everything was built.
Everything was built by Nabalco, and it was run. And when I went there, because I came from Canberra, and we had the NCDC was the National Capital Development Commission in Canberra. It was like the council in Canberra, and in Canberra we're quite well off, with facilities. But in Darwin, in Nhulunbuy, it was called the Nhulunbuy Corporation. And there's this corporation, and I'm going, oh, it sounds like something out of that they control everything. It was like
Big
a bit of
brother.
was just the government facilities. We had a really nice fellow who was really good at the police named Ian, and he was the town like administrator. So he'd do all the administration. But everything was done by Nabalco, through Nabalco. We had a fire station now, we had an ambulance station. And the fireys were just next to the police station. We had a service station. I think it was BP. We had a little shopping centre which had a butcher, had Woolworths, had a chemist, and he sold everything, watches and records, as well as being a chemist. There was a travel place called MMA, which was the like Masling's Airway. We used to call it Mickey Mouse Airlines, because MMA, the staff did too. I can't remember what the real name was. That was going for a while. It was because there was Ansett at the time, and Qantas did come in for a while, and then they dropped us and they wouldn't fly in there for some reason. It was a long airstrip. The airstrip was long enough to take the big 727s, I think they were at the time, or the 707s. Yeah, so it was a good place to live, and no traffic lights, not a traffic light in town at that stage.
That's good.
Yeah, no traffic. Except be busy in the morning shift going out to the steelworks. It might be busy.
Oh yeah,
but not round town.
What about medical facilities? You
Yeah,
said
good
there was
question.
an ambulance station.
Beg your pardon. Yes, so we did have a hospital. We had the Gove Hospital, and it was staffed, and then we had a private doctor as well. And funnily enough, he was the doctor. There was a doctor there that came from Sydney. Years and years later, 30 years later, when I'd left the Northern Territory and I was down living here in the Illawarra, I went to a doctor at Dapto, and it was the same doctor.
No way.
It was the doctor from up there.
That's ridiculous.
And and then he retired, so I had to change doctors. But he was up there because I used to go and see him, and I ended up getting what was called they called it Jeep driver's disease. But it sounds, and I didn't know what it was. And I'll tell you what it was. I had a pain on my tailbone, sitting on my tailbone, and it's actually called a polyneural sinus. And it's during the war called Jeep driver's disease because when you're driving in a Jeep and you're hitting against the hard seat and you're sweating, you get like a sinus in your tailbone. And they have to, doesn't sound too good, but they cut it out, hollow it out, and then they pack it with gauze from the inside, and it heals from the inside out. It's a sinus, which is a hole. So he told me when I went this, and I thought I had an ingrown hair in my tailbone. He goes, no, you got a polyneural sinus, Jeep driver's disease. He said, when you go south, you'll have to fly out to get it done. Safer to go. When you fly south, go and get it operated on. And I did. I went on leave. Not long after, some time, and I went to Canberra and got it operated on.
Back to the ACT.
So back to the ACT, and went to Canberra and just went in. In those days it was pretty easy. I went in. There's a story involved in that too. But
really?
Yeah.
Do we want to go into that now? I don't know. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, so I had that operation. But no, Nhulunbuy was I got there and I loved it. I got off the plane, the police come out, picked my wife and I up, Louise at the time, and picked us up, and we had Ki, the little dog, a little puppy, 8-week-old. I think he might have been 6 or 8 weeks old, Doberman, and took us to the police house that was supposed to be, and we were waiting for our things to arrive. They have to come by barge and get delivered. We didn't have much. The house was furnished, but I'd been allocated a house, police house, and a couple of days before I got there, a new inspector had been sent there to look after what was called number 2 division, which was the top end. From Nhulunbuy, he would look after all the stations up the north, from outside of Darwin. There was Mataranka, Marranboy, Elcho Island, all those places. So he would manage it from there. And he was an inspector, and he went to the house that he was supposed to be allocated, and the backyard was a mess. It had been overgrown, and all they did was sort of slash it and left piles of grass and dry grass and branches there. And he goes, I don't want this one. And he took the house that was allocated for me at Sandalwood. I got Banyan, he got Sandalwood.
Oh.
So I found that after they went, I got to the house, and I had a house. I didn't mind. But the backyard was, so I had to clean that out. I got the police truck. That was one of the first jobs. And then, but that rank has its privileges. I was a probationary constable.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to jump up and go, oh, you got my house.
Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck.
Oh, dear. So you loved it there, you said?
Yes,
so,
I loved it. I got up.
Because you had no idea where you were going.
I had no idea where I was going. Didn't even look at the map. That's how stupid I was. I just went, this is an adventure.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Put my travel orders in. I'm going to Nhulunbuy. Put my manifest in for all our belongings. The car, they came. The car hadn't arrived yet. I had a car being sent up from Canberra that my fiancée, well, she was my wife then. I'd left her to drive a Cortina I had, and I had to get to Darwin, and then they had to barge it over to Nhulunbuy. So I didn't have a car, which wasn't a real drama to start with, but I had bought, I don't know whether I said before, I'd bought a motorbike.
Oh, yeah.
The 400cc motorbike, and it came over within days of me arriving because it was already there. And I was able to ride that to and from work. And funnily enough, not long after I'd been there, it needed a service, and there was a motorbike, because a lot of people had motorbikes there. There was out in the industrial area, there's a motorbike repair place. And I took it in there, and they were all trail bikes, and this was the biggest road bike in Nhulunbuy. I paid $400. Mick, the guy from the academy, I bought it from him for $400, and it was a Honda 404, which is basically a 350, I think, on a 400 on a 350 frame. And I put it in there to get service. Next thing, the guy said to me, do you want to sell it? And I went, I hadn't thought. And I went, I said, you can have it for $600. He goes, I'll have it.
Oh, no.
So I went, now I've got a bike.
Yeah.
But I sold it to him, and it did the rounds around Nhulunbuy. People were buying it. I don't know how much it ended up being sold for. And then there was nowhere to ride it. You could only ride around town.
Was it tarred roads?
Tarred roads around town.
In town,
so all the suburbs of Nhulunbuy are tarred, out to the airport and out to the mine. But the rest was just bush, dirt tracks, red dirt everywhere. So it's not like you could ride it anywhere, but it was a novelty. And they had some money, I suppose, so it changed hands until somebody rode it off or did something with it. Yeah.
I guess it's hard to get many options.
Yeah, that's right. So
what you can buy.
Yeah, it was a bit of a novelty. And then the Cortina arrived, and I'm not a very good horse trader with cars. And I thought, well, it's no good just driving around town. I wanted to explore. And a fellow who was leaving town had a old Willys Jeep up for sale. And it was old. It was like a 1972, might have been earlier. We couldn't even find the age of it. And he'd put a 6-cylinder Ford motor in it. And it had a big, heavy canopy on the back. And it was 2-seater at the front. It was only my wife and I and the dog. I think there's a photo in the book. There's a photo of Ki leaning over the back of it. And he wanted, I think, maybe I sold the Cortina to somebody in Gove. And it was beautiful, because it had no rust or anything coming from Canberra. And the guy I bought it from was this old Irish fella who was a friend of a friend, and it was his pride and joy. And he'd put carpet in the boot. He'd put carpet all up in the walls of the boot, and the inside was carpet, and it was immaculate. And somebody in Gove bought it. I bought it for I sold it for $2,000, I think. And then I wanted to buy this Willys Jeep, which was a 4 on the floor, old Willys Jeep. And I bought it, and it only had like half a tank of fuel. And when I went to fill it, I realised why. When I went to fill it up, it had a leak in it and had a crack in the fuel tank, and it would just leak out.
So you could only fill it up to
you could, but and I took the canopy off, which was so heavy it made it a bit lighter, and it was just like this old truck that used to drive around. It'd go over hills and dunes. I'd take it out to Cape Arnhem and it'd just keep rolling over, go all day with this 6-cylinder
as long as you
Ford
didn't run
motor.
out of petrol.
As long as you didn't run out of fuel. But no, I got the tank fixed.
Oh,
I
good.
did get the tank fixed, and 12 months. I'd had this Jeep for a while, and there was a car dealer there named Merlot's. Laurie Merlot was the guy, a nice guy, and there was a car dealership there and repair. Laurie Merlot used to service all the vehicles in town and the police vehicles. So it was quite a good little... And there was every sport in town. There was every sport you can imagine, because people came from all over Australia. So if you name a sport, we had squash courts there. We had tennis. We had all codes of football, rugby league, rugby union. Don't think there's Aussie rules. No soccer, I don't think. Hockey, you name it, they had it. There was a gun club, shooting club, pistol club, and a clay pigeon club. They did clay pigeon shooting. It was unbelievable.
Martial arts?
The martial arts, yes. There was the Tang Sudo Club, which I became part of course, because Bob Hayden was there, and I always in my martial arts, so the first thing I did was join, go up there, and I ended up being the instructor.
So you've just finished your training.
Yeah.
You've
Brand
been
new.
married a few weeks.
No honeymoon.
No honeymoon.
No.
You've got Ki.
Got Ki, the dog,
a puppy,
the Dublin.
just a puppy, and you're heading out there. What did Louise think of all this?
I was a bit of an event. She seemed to enjoy it. She enjoyed it as well. She was been working in camp. She was she was a PA, well, I suppose you'd call now. She was a secretary, but she would touch type and do shorthand and things like that. And she got a job working for one of the government departments out there for a while. She didn't. All the police, the wives of the police officers had the contract to clean the police station, and they get paid. So every day the police station had to get cleaned. And they had a contract, and they offered her if she wanted, and she didn't want to do that, which is fair enough. And the rest of them gave them a bit of pocket money. So, these days it'd probably be called nepotism or something, but that's the way it was done, because there was no one else. So they just organised the roster themselves. We had about 10, there might have been about 10 police when I got there, and all but 4 were married. There might have been a bit more than that. There was 4 sergeants, senior constable. There was some single blokes lived in the barracks attached to the police station. It was pretty rudimentary. They had a room. There was shared toilet and showers. They had a common a kitchen. There was a barbecue they could use, cook on the barbecue. It was pretty rudimentary.
Was it on par with the training barracks?
Oh, it was a little bit upmarket. I think they may have had I'm not sure whether they had air conditioning. They may have. So it was a bit better than the training barracks.
And they had a barbecue. So
they had a barbecue. And then it was still pretty rough. It was still pretty rough. And the house, we didn't have... The deal with the police housing was still no air conditioning. We had the overhead fans, but for some reason we weren't allowed air conditioning.
That's just mean.
Oh, no. And because you're up in the tropics, this is the tropics, so the coldest it gets is about 25 degrees in the winter. So you get 32, 34s in the summer, maybe a bit hotter. And in the wet season, you've got 100% humidity. Wet season goes from October through to March. Dry season.
That's half the year, right?
Yeah, sort of thing. And then you've got the dry season, which is March through to October. That's the best. That's like the winter, around June, July. So the nights are a little bit cooler, but the days are quite warm. and then in the heat, the humidity in the wet season. But the Nabalco employees had air conditioning. I think most of them did, and that was pretty good. And as I said, they didn't have to pay for the electricity. Thank God. There's some friend of mine. He'd been there for 30 years. He'd stayed there working for Nabalco, and they loved it. It was a good lifestyle, and the kids loved it. It was a little bit isolated for them, but they would go away with different sports. Oh, we had a swimming pool, big swimming pool.
That would have been popular.
Yeah. Oh, funny. And I became the coach of the swimming club. Not I couldn't swim very, but I could. I used to like that. I trained the kids.
Yeah.
I trained the kids. 50-metre pool. That was nice. Didn't have to be heated. I played a bit of squash. One of the girls there. I said tennis, and we had the Arnhem Club, which was sort of the place to go and have a meal and drinks. You had to be a member of that. Everyone in town was sort of a member. Mm-hmm. Then we had the Walkabout Hotel, and that was not a bad place. There's a couple of bars there, and we had the Garden Bar at the back where the Indigenous people used to drink, because there's no dress regulations, which made it easy for them. You know, they just wear shorts, no shirt, no shoes. Here we got no shorts, no shoes, no shirt, no service. So they would just wear shorts. And then we had the surf club, the Gove Surf Club, which was quite famous throughout Australia because we didn't have any surf there, and it was built virtually by Lovey Browning, who was a police officer, senior constable. He's in the photo in the book. He was a mad keen surfer from Surf Life Saving from Sydney. Oh. And it had the largest, I've probably stand correct, but it probably had the largest social membership of any surf club, because if you want to have a drink or buy drinks there, you had to be a member. So everyone joined. I did mine with another cop, Dave, and I and a couple of others. We did our bronze medallion training, and that was an experience. And we go and you do your training every week, and you have to do your run, swim, run. You had to run 400 metres, swim 200 metres, run 400 metres.
Was this in the pool or the ocean?
In the ocean.
But what about the Crocs?
Yeah, exactly. So the day we were doing ours, there was a fella from Sydney who'd been surf life saving at, I think, at Shelley Beach. His name was Phil. And he was doing our testing. And he came and he looked and he said, the barrel's not out far enough. You got to swim past around this boy, you know. And I said, there was a 10-foot croc seen out there, you know, an hour before. And he goes, well, it's still not out far enough. So it's the fastest run, swim, run I ever did. And
so
we still had to do it.
He
made us put it out, the 100 metres or whatever it had to be, the distance. And you get your bronze surf life saving, which I think that lasts forever. Like the freshwater, you have to renew. But we had, and then we did the reel. We had to do the reel and things like that, the rescue. And that was a bit of fun. But we did enjoy that sort of thing. So there's always something to do. And then just going camping. A lot of people like they're camping out in the bush. We just get the car and the dog and the boys and I, and we just go at a little tent and go out camping for a couple of days.
Kiai.
Kiai, yeah.
Tell us about Kiai's name. What does that mean?
Kiai, it's Japanese, because I've always been involved in martial arts. Kiai means to show your spirit. When you're Kiai, there's 3 Kiais, but basically that means to show your spirit when you're fighting. Mm-hmm. And it's not, you don't yell Kiai. That's what some people do. I go, no, it's not. That is what you are using, a Kiai. And in swordsmanship you have 3 different Kiais, and it's to show how you know, pump yourself up and show your spirit. And when you exhale by Kiaiing, you haven't got any air in your lungs, so you're not going to get winded as much. That's the basics behind it.
Okay.
But I like that name, Kiai.
It is a nice name.
Yes.
I like it. So did you have any break when you arrived? Like, were you able to settle in a bit, or
no,
did you go straight to work?
I went straight to work, which was good. I think I got into a fight the first week I was there.
Oh, didn't take long.
No, it didn't take long at all. We didn't have anything, and we went up on the Saturday night, I think at the Walkabout Hotel, they had to have a disco. They had the old disco. And I had this, I thought was quite a good disco shirt. I had this shirt.
Tell us about your shirt.
Oh, no, it was just sort of a florally type short sleeve shirt. And we went, Louise and I went to the Walkabout and had dinner. And they were, the disco started. It was just music being playing. And I was never a big drinker, but what I did drink, sounds like it's a girly drink, I know, but I drink Kahlua and milk.
Oh, yeah.
I used to like my Kahlua and milk. And people laugh now because I drink a chai latte now, lactose-free milk, because I'm lactose intolerant now. But I would have Kahlua and milk, and I think Louise drank the same. So I went to the bar and I get in a drink. We'd had dinner, and I turn around. There's a fella next to me, a bigger chap. He was Turkish, I think he ended up being. Anyway, he's looking at me, and I just looked at him. And I have this thing that I look at people and they get annoyed. I do it all the time. And he goes, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "I'm looking at you, mate." He goes, I get a shotgun and kill you."
Oh,
he had a bit of alcohol. I went, "Oh, settle down." And he reached out and he grabbed my pocket of my shirt and just pulled it down and ripped it. I looked at him and I just went crack, and I hit him on the side of the nose and broke his nose. Anyway, I followed him down and ended up, he's a good bloke. The licensee, named Peter, and he's come over as I'm going to arrest this fella. I haven't placed him under arrest. I'm arresting him. I'm off duty, but I'm placing him under arrest. And I've grabbed hold of him to pull him up, and he's going to grab me because he's going to stop. And he'd go all right, Peter. This Peter.
The
publican. He used to be getting a few fights because after this I got to know him and was writing statements for him. There was always a fight there of some, and he grabbed me, and I turned around and he goes, "I'm the licensee," and I said, "No, I'm the fucking law." And like at 22, I don't know where this comes from. I think I must have been a cop or something in a previous life, because things just came to me naturally, like brand new. 1 week. I only been out of the academy a couple of weeks. And he goes, so we drag this bloke out, and I ring the police station, and the afternoon shift's on. I said, "Oh, here I am." I think, "Oh yeah." I said, "Come over and throw this bloke in the cells for me." So he comes over, they put him in the thing. They said, "What do you want done with him?" I said, "Don't want him charged this day, just put him in for drunk," which was, a prerogative, because don't want to ruin his life as well. So I said, just lock him up for drunk.
Yeah.
So I went over to see him after we went back to the police station, and he's standing, and his the bone's sticking out the side of his nose. He said to me, "You're breaking my nose." I said, yeah, I know, I can see that. I go, "Well, mate, it's your lucky day. I'm not going to charge you with assault. You just be good." And never... his name was Mustafa. I still remember his name. I can tell you his full name. I'm teaching karate. 12 months later, I'm teaching at the Tang Soo Do. And we used to get people, coming in to join. And this fella comes to the door, and it's him. He takes one look at me, turns around and leaves.
Oh no.
That was
Poor Mustafa.
And because if he wasn't working for Nabalco, he was working for one of the contractors. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a Nabalco employee. They never got into any trouble, very rarely. The contractors, yes, they were different because they used to come in, go, be working for John Holland or these different mobs, and they were a bit rough. The same, we used to get the prawn boats come in, and they'd come
kind
off.
of in and out.
The prawn boats would come in, they'd always cause trouble and then leave, you'd lock them up for drunk because they were gone. The barra fishermen would come in, same thing, they'd cause trouble. But the Nabalco employees, never
Behaved themselves.
Yeah, because they're getting paid good money.
They had it too good.
They had it too good, and they were just good people.
Yeah.
So most of the dramas were the blow-ins,
Yep.
and prawn fishermen, barras, some of the international. This poor little bloke one day, we have international ships, and there was a little bloke from China, Hong Kong, tiny little fella, and he's at the pub and he couldn't drink to save his life. And he'd had a couple of beers and he was legless. So they rang us and he was causing a bit of trouble. So I took him back to the police station. I'm just going to lock him. We had the offence of locking him up for drunk, what we call protective custody, it was called. And I think I mentioned before, so there's different circumstances. They were being disorderly, drunk and being disorderly, not offensive, disorderly. That means they were just waving their arms and yelling and carrying on. They might, because of their intoxication, commit an offence. They might be standing there with a brick in their hand looking at a window. Well, you'd arrest them for that. They hadn't done anything. Or likely to have an offence committed on them. So somebody was going to bash and rob them. You'd take them into protective custody.
So basically, they're not really going to get charged.
They're not charged with anything.
They're just going to get locked up.
You get locked up to
sober.
drunk 4 to 6, 8 hours. As soon as they're sober, or someone comes and can take care of them, you let them out, and it just saves so many. And the old drunk tank in the old days, and a lot of young fellas used to, say even in Canberra they had the drunk tank. In Sydney they had the drunk tank, in America they had and that's what it was. We called it protective custody. Anyway, this little Asian fella, and I took him back, and he's trying to fight me, but I could just hold him, like his wrists, he had little stick wrists, I could just hold him with one hand. I just got him to stand there. I took him to the charge room, and of course we've got to take all their property off them. He could have weapons on him, or you don't want to get him robbed in the cell if there's somebody else in there. So I'm starting to take his property, and he starts crying. He thinks I'm robbing him.
Oh, okay.
And I'm taking his wallet, and I'm taking his watch off him, and he's got glasses. I'm taking his glasses off, and he's nothing he could do about it because he was. But I believed he couldn't speak any English. I believed I was robbing him. Mm-hmm. So after he'd sobered up a few hours, and the wharf, it's hard to get. It's 20 k's away. Get back to the wharf. And he had to get back to his ship. So as soon as, when he sobered up, I brought him out. I gave him all his stuff back, and his face lit up like a Christmas tree. He realised he wasn't being robbed. I put him in the truck, and I drove him back to the wharf.
Oh, that's nice.
And he's trying to give me $20. I didn't take it. Probably today I would. I go, it was $20. But no, I didn't. And he was just elated he wasn't being robbed, because back home in wherever he's from, Hong Kong, China, wherever, he might have got robbed, by the cops. So he probably thought, this is what happens wherever you go, and so he couldn't believe he got his money and all his stuff back.
Oh, funny. That's good. So when you started working at the police station, how many police were there in the
there was I think we had a strength of about 15, but we lost a few, and they didn't replace them. When I first started there, we would have a day shift, and day shift works 8 till 4. Your afternoon shift comes in, and there'd be 2 or 3 on day shift, and somebody had to man the front counter, which wasn't a job that I really liked, but you had to do it because we did all the vehicle registrations and licensing, testing, so if people need their license or rego, and we used to do rego checks on maybe a Tuesday and Thursday, and everyone would bring their cars in or boats, and you do the rego.
So you actually
You actually inspected the inspection. Like, there was no training given for this.
Yeah, right.
No training whatsoever.
That looks all right.
They just go, righty, in the Northern Territory, you're what they call ex officio everything. Births, deaths and marriages, you do that. You record births, deaths and marriages at the police stations. You did all the with surveys, if you've got to do census. You did census. You did everything, and you did vehicle testing. You did license testing. I had a truck driver's license, so I could test up to road trains. I could give somebody a road train license. It was ridiculous. And then you did all the weapons renewals for firearms, did the firearms renewals. So it was pretty busy of a daytime, just doing all that stuff. And then general inquiries coming in. Then you'd have maybe 2 people working on the truck.
It's like Service New South Wales. There.
Yes, you were Service Northern Territory. And then you'd go out and do stock returns. When you're out in the country, you had to do stock and station returns.
What does that mean? Like
you go and
counting
for how much land they had and do the returns for stock. All those, there was just a mile of things you had to do. Keep your books, then you got your warrants and summonses, and you had to enter them in and go and arrest people for outstanding warrants and serve summonses, as well as doing everything else.
Oh, wow,
so it was,
easy.
And then one of the guys there, you were also like the CSI, no training. There was a break-in. There's a transponders, for the planes. They have a beacon, so the homing beacons are out in the paddocks and whatnot. And so when planes want to find where they've got to go, it's on a transponder beacon. And somebody had broken in, I think, and damaged it, so I had to go out there, and I've got the fingerprint kit, no idea what I'm doing, and dusting for fingerprints and trying to photograph and lift fingerprints. Oh, it was a nightmare. And you take photographs, had the Canon camera and with film, and then once there was a whole lot of film, they'd send it to Darwin, because you had to photograph the prisoners as well, so everyone who got arrested got photographed, and we had a chalkboard, and you'd write their name and the offence and their date of birth. I think I got some photos in the book of one of those, and take their photo, and then it'd come back.
Surprised you didn't have your own photo lab there.
No, you couldn't do that. But it would send off to Darwin, get to the forensics there, and they'd do them and send them back. They're black and white photos. It was wonderful, but it was all an experience, and no maps, no GPS. You just general knowledge, or someone would tell you, like, where you're going and how you had to get there.
Not far.
Not far. 10-hour drive, not far. Take
just up the road.
Just up the road. And the boats. There's all sorts of things.
Sounds fun.
Not long after I got there, we had a boss, and had taken over, and he said he took me out the first day. Took me out to show me around the town. I think that was my introduction. He goes, "Here we go. This is Nhulunbuy. This is the
shops.
This is the shop. This is the town. This is where the mine is. Right? You've had." And we're driving out there in the police car. Everyone waves. He goes, "Oh, they're the town of wavers here. Everyone, you've got to wave to everybody. You got to wave." And of course, a small police station. That's what. And small towns.
Yeah.
And then he thought that there was a lot of people not wearing seatbelts, and it was a big thing. And drink driving, PCAs. So we had an enforcement on seatbelts, and he got everybody, got all the police together, and we had a couple of cars, and we're stopping everyone and giving them tickets. And I pulled this fella up and I said, "Oh, you're not wearing your seatbelt." And he goes, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm Constable Mayer." He goes, "Well, I don't know you." I said, "Well, why would you?" He said, "I know everybody, all the cops in town. How long have you been here?" And I'd been here 2 weeks, and I went, "Oh, 6 months." He goes, "How come I haven't seen you?" I said, "I was undercover." And he went, "Oh, fair enough. I wasn't. I just made that up."
Yeah.
And he was happy then because he thought he should have known me.
Yeah, right.
I didn't expect favours, but it was they want to know what's going on and who's who and things like that.
Should be a big announcement.
Big announcement,
new police officer.
Yeah, new cops. And there was a thing called the Gove Gazette.
Oh.
The Gove Gazette, and it was put together. It was a free, I think, weekly, and it was a gossip sheet, a little like A5 size, and a gossip sheet of what's going on. And guess who? You'd have to guess. They couldn't say who. Guess who was seen, hanging out the washing the other day in their underwear or something, or guess, and everyone's going, "Oh, I know who that is," or
I think it was such.
I think it was so and so. So there was a bit, and it was put together by a local fella, old bloke here, who was an ABC reporter as well. They had, and the only we had ABC radio you might get, and we had one TV channel station, which was the Gove, and we had the ABC TV, but the Gove channel only came on for a few hours. And then you got the ABC shows, but most of the VCRs came out, or there was a few VCRs, and people would get...
Was that in the Gove Gazette? Guess who got a new VCR?
No, and there was no... And a mate of mine, a few years later, opened a video shop.
Oh.
But my mate had a VCR. We didn't have a VCR, so... But I was looking back, there was no radio, there was nothing. The radio station in Darwin was called 8DN in Darwin, which is, and then in the centre you had the Heart radio station, because the heart of Australia, and every day they'd have John Laws on about 9 till 12 at the program. You'd be listening. I remember. But nothing in Gove, no radio, nothing. You need the shortwave. And the telephones was run by what's called the Tropper scanner. And they had these, and they called them Mickey Mouse ears, right out in the middle of Arnhem Land. There's these two big like ears they were, two big Mickey Mouse ears, one facing one way, and the telephone calls would be bounced off those and picked up the other way. So it was sent, there was no landline, it was sent by the Tropper scanner. And then out in the outstations in the islands, we had the radio telephone. It was like a telegraph system and telephone, and you could send a message through the radio telephone. And now, of course, you just pick up the phone. And at the station, there was one STD phone. Oh. And of course, the old STD, long distance.
Yeah.
But you had to write it in the book, the time and the number you rang if you wanted to use it, and then you'd pay for the call. The account had come in, and you'd have to pay for it. Working at the police station, you'd have to pay.
Oh.
I got a bit... I'll probably fess up to it. So what happened was we had a facsimile machine. We got a facsimile machine.
Fax machine. Yeah.
FAC. FASCIMILIE.
Yeah.
Facsimile machine, and we didn't know what it was. And it was the telephone attached to this telephone, and so they had to have an STD line. And I figured out that this machine, if you unplugged it, you could plug a normal phone in and make a STD call. So I was a bit sneaky like that, because if I wanted to ring my parents, I'd have to pay for the call. I'd do reverse charges or whatever. Anyway, they put this facsimile machine, and the paper it used to come on was like grease-proof paper, the old days.
I remember that. It was like burned.
Yeah, it was like burned, the image. Well, you can imagine black and white photo of Indigenous people. All you could see was the eyes and the teeth if they were smiling, because there was no, you couldn't see the features. There was no features. So we went, well, this is no good. They didn't. And if you wanted to do a criminal history check on somebody, whereas now you just get on the computer, I would have to send a telex to Darwin with their details. Send a telex, and then maybe a day or so, a couple of days later, could take long, I'd get the information back on the telex machine saying, and I had this young fella in one day, I'd arrested him off a boat, I think off a prawn boat. He was on alcohol, and I locked him up for drunk, and I think for maybe an offence. I had him in custody. He was only young, he was only about 19. And I remember I sent his details off, and you'd think he was, I could tell there was something just not right about him. He was mad. He was mad. Even though he was on the alcohol, he was mad. Not frightened of anything. And I had a good fight with him, I think, to get him in the truck. And a telex came back that he committed a double murder in Perth. Extradition not desired. They didn't even want him back then.
Oh.
I went, what? And I questioned him. I said, mate, what happened in Perth? He goes, it's not even my fault. I said, what happened? He goes, where I was living in this unit, they were downstairs, there was all this noise outside. There was like a fight going on. And he went down and said, look, shut up and be quiet. No, he was about 17 or 18. And they turned on him. And he went upstairs, grabbed the knife, come down and just stabbed everybody, and 2 of them died.
Oh, no.
And he said, and the police charged him, gave him bail, he took off, and that's why I think, because they weren't really interested in arresting him. If he came back to Perth, they would get him.
Okay.
But they weren't going to actively chase him because they didn't have much chance. They thought it self-defense or whatever the reason was. They weren't particularly... I let him go. He got back on the prawn boat and away he went. Good luck to him. He can end up back in Perth. They can arrest him there.
Wow.
Because things like that would happen, quite often. Different things. So we had this... It made the Gove Gazette when we had this enforcement. It's upset the township no end that we're writing tickets for not wearing a seatbelt.
Oh, was that in the Gove Gazette?
It was in the Gove Gazette.
What were they saying?
They were a bit heavy-handed, the police, fining people, and it was like $40 probably a fine for not wearing a seatbelt, or $35 or something. It wasn't that much, but yeah, no seatbelt. You had enough warnings. Now we're going to start issuing tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And traffic infringement notice they were called, the tins and pins. The pins were parking infringement. I never wrote one of those in my life. I didn't know where to start. But a traffic infringement notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in Darwin. Because we used to have to attend because I had a couple of weeks working in Darwin before I got transferred. And go to motor vehicle accidents, and you're trying to figure those out. And you always had to give somebody a ticket, or somebody had to be at fault back in those days. So there's no leeway. Neg drive, or it was called drive without due care in the Northern Territory, which was quite hard to prove if they took it to court. You had to prove they were driving motor vehicle, which is easy, without due care. Well, how do you prove that? Well, if he's... Today you'd be looking at your phone, or you're reading the newspaper, you're reading something. That's negligent driving here, but drive without due care. Run into the back of someone, that's easy enough. You weren't driving without due care, but other times it was a bit hard. Failed to give way to ride, or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was the crew like?
It was a good bunch of people there. We had some good sergeants. We had, actually, there's about 4 sergeants, I think, who were quite top heavy. We had Lovey Browning, who was a senior constable. Now, his registered number was registered number 44 in the Northern Territory. Mine was 1017. Oh. So he joined the police 2 years before I was born, 1954. When he joined, not one day in the college. Just they sent you to the Chinese tailor, and you got 2 uniforms supplied. They gave you 6 acts of parliament and said, go out and be a policeman. That was it. And then a bit of training later on. He'd never been... So after he'd done about 25 years, I think, they'd sent him back to Darwin to do a refresher course. And what was the point of that? He sat there and with his feet up, at the back of the classroom with his feet up on the desk reading the paper. And his registered number, 44, and there was assistant commissioners who were junior to him, with numbers junior to him. He was a lovely guy. And then we had Lofty Moffat. Lofty was he was 6'7.5", and he just passed away recently, which is a shame. Lovely fella, and big, strong country bloke from country Victoria. I like working with Lofty. He liked working with me. He thought I was smart. I was there, dumb as a bag of hammers, but I had a bit more over Lofty. But
poor Lofty.
Lofty was good value. But whenever I worked with him, if we were going to a fight at the pub or anything, I'd make him walk behind me because I looked like a puppy dog following him in. I go, Lofty, get behind me, mate. Or I'd make him walk in the gutter if we're walking along.
Give you a bit of height.
Give me a bit of height. Everyone looks short next to Lockie. He had these big arms, and he was a good basketball player. Loved his basketball. Married a lovely Aboriginal girl in Alice, from Darwin she was, named Maria, and two very tall, beautiful girls who were good swimmers. His daughters, yeah. Good, and the place was I made the mistake of joining there was a number of rugby, not many people there, but the number of teams, they had their own competition for rugby league and Aussie rules. And the Aboriginals loved the Aussie rules. They didn't play the rugby league, but they loved and were fast. You couldn't touch them on the Aussie rules. They were fast. No shoes on. Put a jumper on, a pair of shorts, and they out-mark you, out-run you, out-kick you all day long. I'd be locking them up on the Friday night for drunk, let them out on the Saturday to go and play football. They sobered up. And I played for South's rugby league in Nhulunbuy. They still had like the Sydney teams for the South. There was different factions of the town played for different, And I was playing for South, and I'm in the ruck one day, in the scrum, and I'm getting belted. Blokes belt me in the face, and it's one of the blokes off my team. Giving the local copper what for. He gave me some. I went, yeah. It didn't work out because I was working on the Saturday and I didn't want to get injured, and football wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
I played rugby league and I played rugby union in Darwin, and during the wet season, in the dry season, very hot, and you'd run, and everyone just stopped and walk and pass the ball because you couldn't keep running, you'd die.
You're right.
So I played soccer in Darwin. I played rugby union a little bit, but for a team there while I was there in the college and afterwards. But no.
And you had one guy from your...
Yeah, Dave. Dave was from my class.
Your class.
My squad. Oh, it's squad we call it. Squad 29 of 78. Yeah, Dave was a good fellow. He was the pommy bloke. And good fellow. He was single, so he was in the single men's quarters. Mm-hmm. And he bought himself a little Daihatsu four-wheel drive. Just before I got there, one of the Indigenous women had dumped her 2 kids in the bush and said a crocodile got them. And they didn't believe her, so they barged his little Daihatsu, because it was so small, over to where she said on the other side of the harbour there in this thick swamp. She dumped them in the swamp over there and ended up finding them, and the community were really thankful and gave us did a painting and a bit of a ceremony for the police, so that was quite good. Alison Murray, her name was, and she got punished for being naughty at once. They shaved her hair off one stage. She was in town all the time, misbehaving. They got her and shaved her hair off. That's, like punishment.
So did they know why she dumped the kids?
Yeah, alcohol, and wanted to be good time girl in town.
Yeah, okay.
And she's, so that was the truth of the matter. And then a relative took the 2 girls, only babies, good. Only little, but survived for a few days.
Oh, a few days.
A few days in the bush, in the swamp. Survived.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
Very lucky.
Yeah, sad, but that was just before I got there, and Dave and I seemed to really fall into the place and enjoyed it, and I went to the trouble of learning the language as much as I could, best I could. We had a police liaison officer named Timothy Mangura, fantastic, one of the bravest fellas I know, and he was from Groot Island, which is a bit further away, but they all learn the different dialect very quickly, and he was there, and he ended up being a police aide after that when we got police aides, but he was a fantastic guy. There's a photo of Timothy in the book as well, just a good guy.
Cool. Now, fast forward to October 1979. So this is your first year at Nhulunbuy.
First year in Nhulunbuy.
Mm-hmm. You're 23 years old. It's your day off, Sunday. You're laying in your undies on the lounge.
Because it's hot.
And there's a knock on the door.
Yep, knock at the door. It's the boss's wife. They hadn't got the phone. He's waiting for the PMG, the telecom, and it wasn't telecom, it was PMG, postmaster or something, to come and hook the phone up.
So still didn't have the phone on?
No, we didn't have the phone on. And she's knocked on the door and said, Chris, the boss, wants you to get your skin dive. He knew I did a bit of skin diving. And go to the police station. There's a fellow out at Rainbow Cliffs been taken, we think, by a shark. And his wife and a local named Max were out there. So I grabbed my gear, and I had all I had was some fins a knife, of course, a snorkel and goggles, and a pair of pantyhose.
So you weren't really like a professional.
I wasn't. I'm self-taught, nothing professional, you know. I don't think I'd ever snorkeled really before, you know, in the pool at Manuka Pool, probably when I was a kid, you know, nearly drowning with because we had those snorkels with the ping pong ball in the top. Do you ever remember them?
No.
No, it was cooled over and it had a ping pong ball, so when you sucked on it, the water wouldn't go, and then you used to have to blow it, the ping pong ball, but it kept dropping down and nearly suffocating, you know, dangerous things. So I go to the police station, and there's Dave and Bob Hayden, the sergeant, and we have two boats there. One is a 16-foot Quintrex boat, a centre console, and the other was a big 23-foot Shark Cat that was for the SES. And of course the police, we have no SES there. The commander of the officer in charge of the police station is the SES commander.
Right.
Virtually same here, it can happen. And we were then seconded. Then the sergeants drove the boat and the constables were the deckhands, so we did a course in that and on the show. Anyway, so I spoke to the witness Max, and they said he was diving in about 10 foot of water, tide was out at these Rainbow Cliffs, and there's painted crayfish there. And I'd been there not long before with Louise. I'd gone out to Rainbow Cliffs, going to go and look for some crays, but just to go diving. Took the gear out this one Saturday or Sunday afternoon, or during whenever it was. I went out there and I had a look, and I said to Louise, this reeks of crocodiles. It's just, no. Hackles went up in the back of my neck. I went, hairs went up. I went, no. And we turned around and went home. Didn't even go in the water. That's where this guy was. Now, he was from Melbourne, and he was wearing a wetsuit, and I think he had orange flippers and a mask, and it's unusual, and they probably had the wetsuit because the stingers were probably getting near stinger season, October, but he probably, I don't know why he had a wetsuit, nobody else dived in a wetsuit. And then he said what happened, he was diving in about 10 foot of water, he came up, screamed, and then disappeared, wasn't seen. And I said, it's not a shark, it's a croc. Even then, I knew back then. I mean, I don't know why I knew. And they go, no, we didn't see a croc. I said, no, that's why. He would have come from underneath. He's grabbed him, dragged him down. Anyway, and the wife's distraught, obviously. And it was, so we began patrolling the area in the boat where it was. And now about half a kilometre away is Rainbow Cliffs Creek. There's a creek comes out into the water, and I've got a photo of that in the book. And that afternoon, about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we were going to go up the river. So we started going up the river, and it got dark. And as we were going up, the tide starts coming out, and the tides in the territory are huge. They rush. It's like the water's rushing out. We're in the little 16-foot Quintrex. And as we're going up this river, Rainbow Cliffs River, the motor stalls, and we're starting to rush backwards and sideways. So Dave and I jump out, and we're on the left-hand side of the boat, the port side. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter, we're on the left-hand side. That's how good a sailor I am.
Yeah, very professional. And
we're holding the boat steady, and Bob's trying to get the motor started. I don't know why it stalled, but it did. And I had this funny feeling. I'm in the front, and I was behind Dave.
What time of day is this?
This is 8 o'clock at night. 7, 8 o'clock. It's dark.
Is it dark?
It's dark. It's dark. I'm behind Dave, and I thought it'd be funny. I reached down under the water and grabbed him on the back of the leg and went, rah! And he jumped. He goes, you get in front. I said, that's good, because any croc, they'll come from behind. And I stand in the front, and I said to Bob, put the spotlight on. And we're holding the boat steady. It's rushing, the water's up to our chest. He put the spotlight, and about 20 feet away, there's two red eyes, the red eyes of a crocodile. So we jump in the boat, and we're like cowboys. We've got a 308, we've got shotgun, we've got a pistol, I think Bob's got the shotgun. He's got the 308, and we got a pistol. We're letting shots. Anyway, Croc sinks. We're not sure whether we got it or not. Boat's running backwards. We have to jump out again. We hold the boat steady. Bob gets it started. We go up to where the Croc was, and we find the body of He dropped the body. That's what he was doing. He was taking it up. So we pulled the body up into the boat, and the mask had pulled down under his chin, and his eyes were bugged out, and his mouth was open. He died screaming. The only injury he looked like his left arm or his right arm had been dislocated or broken at the elbow. So he'd put his arm out, seen the Croc had grabbed it and just spun him over and over, dragged him down, and then the only other marks he had, the puncture marks, where he had him round the chest, holding him, taking him up the river, where he would, probably eat some of him then. But he's got a wetsuit on. That's probably what saved him. Had these orange flippers, and the look on his face, so we had to pull the body out, and then I put it in the back of the police Toyota. That's all we had, Longwell base Toyota, in the cage, and took him back to the Gove Hospital, where the doctor has to pronounce life extinct. And pronounced life extinct. The next day, the news goes out. It's all over the media in Sydney. Mm-hmm. Everyone's ringing up. There's no internet or anything like that. So, no. And then the next night, that was the Sunday, the Monday, the fisheries guys come from Darwin, fly from Darwin. I wasn't working, and they fly over and they go out in the boat, go to the same area where the Croc, and find him on a sandbank. And got a big spear with a harpoon with 3 prongs on it, with cord on it. And what they do is they put it into the back of the Croc. It sticks in him. The spear pulls out. He rolls over, tangles himself in the rope. They get a snout rope on him. They catch him. But this Croc, somehow something went wrong, and they shot it, and it died. I think that was. And we brought it into town, and we put it on display. We took it to the school because it was big news. No one had been killed or attacked by a crocodile for years, many years in the Northern Territory.
What was the actual cause of death? Was it drowning?
Be drowning.
Yeah.
Shock and drowning.
It wasn't actually.
So we did the post-mortem. Yeah, so he drowned, and the Croc. So I put a big stick in the Croc's mouth, and we also caught a little 3-foot crocodile that was locked. We locked in the cells. So it was about 3 or 4. It was tied up in the cells, had a snout, and I went up. I've got a photo of that as well. And I went up the cells. We had it tied up in one of the bars of the cells. And I thought, he's just lying there really still. And I thought, I'm going to go up and touch it. Had a snout, and it turned that quick and nearly broke my forearm just with its jaw. You can see how I could realise how quick they were then.
Yeah.
And he hit me on the forearm, and I went, if he'd had his jaws open, he would have snapped me on the jaws. And he was only 4 foot long.
And that was a small one.
4 foot long.
The Croc that actually
he was 11 foot long.
Yep.
And about 350 pounds. We weighed him up at the hospital on the scales. I got scales there. And he was about 100, because he'd just come out of semi-hibernation. So he opened up his stomach, and he had 2 rocks in his belly, which they will swallow for ballast and regurgitate, a small shark and a turtle. Oh. And the turtle and the shark were still undigested. He swallowed them whole. So obviously he was hungry, and he's coming out, and that's the time they come out from hibernating, like during the dry season.
Yeah.
When I say hibernate, they slow down because it's not really cold, but they will slow down. Then they come out to eat and feed and breed. I was a male, and he wasn't that big, about 11 and a half foot, 12 foot, 3 and not that big, maybe not as big as the one I caught later.
Okay.
But still did the job. And there was a big divide in town. I wasn't. I was against hunting them. Yep. And then people said, we've got to hunt them. You've got to shoot them and whatnot. But I go, look, they've been here for 200 million years. It's their territory.
Yeah.
We could say now they are walking up the streets a bit, but if they were up the main street, that's a bit different. But they're not. They're in the bush. They're in muddy holes. But the thing about the saltwater crocodile, he can live anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be saltwater, but they call them saltwater crocs.
And they can go quite far out in the ocean.
Oh, they go out. They go between here and New Guinea.
Yeah.
Australia and New Guinea, and they hunt sharks out at sea. You get a big, 18, 20-foot crocodile, he's frightened of nothing.
Yeah.
They've got one in Cairns, I think it was about over 5 or 6 metres they're getting them now. The one on record. There's apparently a Sepik River crocodile from New Guinea hit the barge that was 33 foot long. Don't know whether that's confirmed or not, but that was what I read.
Wow.
That's a different crocodile, same, but Sepik River. And of course they're interspersed, they'll come, our crocodiles go over there and vice versa.
Okay, so they're different.
There's a bit of a different species. Yeah, it's a Sepik River crocodile. Ours is a saltwater crocodile. Yeah. Chasing the barra through when in the wet seasons they'll follow the billabongs after the feed, jabberoos and the fish. Scary. Amazing creatures.
They are amazing.
But scary.
Yeah, very scary.
Yeah.
So when you were shooting at it, obviously you didn't.
No. Yeah, well they just sink straight away. Well, we didn't hit it.
Yeah.
Obviously. In the dark with the boat going backwards. That's twice I missed the crocodile.
Scared. It was enough.
Twice, 2 shots
to
and I
make
missed
him let go.
Just to make him let go of the body. But we didn't know he had the body.
Yeah.
But the boat, the motor, and we're coming up in his territory. Mm-hmm. Obviously, something's going on, and he would just take him up and jam him under a log or something. And they only eat a couple of kilos of meat. They don't eat a whole body. We've had people taken before, and they might chew the arms off. I had one Aboriginal woman taken. We got cut her in half, got her head back, crunch, got the torso back, got one leg back, an arm, I think. I had a photograph. That wasn't very pleasant.
No,
it was a big crocodile.
Nice at all.
It could come out about 4 foot out of the water and took her off the bank, cut her clean in half when she was fishing. Yeah. Yeah, got the photos of the 5-litre drum he chewed up just like a toothpick. This crocodile. Yeah.
So don't go swimming up there.
Don't go swimming. Don't know any water.
Just go to the Nhulunbuy pool.
The Nhulunbuy pool. And Darwin's even worse, Carl Crossing and that now. And round, Corroboree Park and things like that. They're very, very aggressive, the crocs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got to be so careful.
You've got some more croc stories which we'll get
to later.
In later episodes.
Yeah, but that was quite... and then the photo that I took, because the croc had gone, obviously, the newspaper, so the Sun newspaper used it in the Sydney Sun, so that ended up in another, and then years later they did a show, the ABC, called Living with Crocodiles, and they used my photo, and a big black and white photo that I have. I think it's in the book. And in the photo in the newspaper, they blacked out the stick. I just jammed a stick in his mouth because it looked better with the mouth open.
Yeah.
But they blacked that out so it looked like his mouth was just open in the boat, and photoshopped it or whatever they do nowadays, just a bit of texture and
but it wouldn't have been open if it was dead, right?
It was dead. That's right. Yeah. So
you got in the papers for that one?
Yeah. Well, the photo did, and I got those in the photos of that in the book. And I used to keep a scrapbook mainly for the kids of all the different newspaper cuttings and things that I was in over the years.
Oh yeah, that's good. Lucky you kept all that.
So I kept it.
Remember, and you've got
refer back to it and prove that it actually happened.
That's right. That's right.
Everybody wants proof.
Yep.
Proof of life, proof of death. There's the croc.
So did it make the Gove Gazette?
Yeah, it made the Gove Gazette. It made Gove. I think it was the talk of the town for a long time.
Was there a lot of the divide discussed in?
Yeah, there was a divide on killing and not killing, and I just didn't agree with going out and killing them but
it's like the shark.
Yeah, sharks. They're in their area.
Yeah.
You go and cull sharks, something else take over. You got more other things in the tropics there. You just had to be careful.
Yep.
I just, I look back now and I went, oh, I shouldn't have probably gone there. It looked all right at the time.
Yeah, you thought you were...
I thought I was safe.
It feels like you're never safe up.
No, but I close to I thought I'd been taken by a croc. I'll quickly tell you that.
Oh yeah.
I was out at Cape Barnum. I went out there. It's beautiful, clear water, diving. I took there was me, another copper, his wife, and Louise, and we're snorkeling. And I had Ki there with us. Took Ki, of course, and it was this rock pools, quite deep rock pools, and they were about 15, 20 foot deep. You could see the bottom, and there was all these beautiful shovel-nosed sharks lying in the gutters, and fish and parrotfish. And I'm swinging along on the surface with looking down, going, how great this is. And next thing, I got hit in the middle of the back. Bang! Felt these teeth in the middle of my back. I've gone, I rolled over, and was Ki. He saw him. He jumped in, wanted to be with me, and he jumped on top of my back, and his claws had got me in the back, and I nearly...
You thought it was a croc?
I thought it was a croc. I was a shark taking me, and I nearly...
That was karma from when you scared your mate in the
boat. In the water, and I was, mouthful of water, I nearly drowned. I nearly held the dog under and scared the life out of me. Because I had to teach him to swim. Because he couldn't swim before. When I got photos in there, he could not swim a stroke. His nose would be just above the water, and his legs would be popping up and down underneath. And he couldn't use his front legs, and I used to have to hold his little bum up until he got. I had to teach. He couldn't swim for ages. I never
Not
knew
even
it.
dog paddle.
No, I couldn't dog paddle. He'd just be doing these ones with his legs going up and down. I used to kill myself laughing. His little nose trying to breathe while his feet are going
just
up and
sinking.
down. He's sinking down. I pick him up and let him go, and he'd sink down again.
Oh, poor kid.
He could not swim, but then he learnt to swim. He was all right, and then jumped in the middle of my back. Frightened the life out of me.
You deserve that.
I deserved it.
I'm pretty sure you deserved it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next episode. I'm sure you got more stories.
Yes, well, it'll be something from the book. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have a think about it.
And how long you were in Nhulunbuy for
nearly 3 years.
3 years. So I'm
before
sure
I went
we've got
Alice
a few
Springs.
more stories.
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to that next episode.
Okay. Thank you, Deb.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks for listening to episode 4 of Tall Tales and True, where Roger shared some stories from his first year of his posting in Nhulunbuy in the Northern Territory, including his first encounter with a rather large crocodile. We'll be back next episode with more stories from Roger's book, Tall Tales and True. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss what's coming next. We'd love it if you could leave us a review. It really helps more than you think. Got a story, question, or something you want us to unpack on the show? Send it through. We read them all. And come hang out with us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. Just search for us and say hi. If you like this episode, share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and even your dog. Especially your dog. They've probably heard worse podcasts anyway. See you next time.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Five Islands Pest Solutions, servicing the Illawarra and Shoalhaven. If you've got spiders, cockroaches, rodents, or any other unwanted guests, Five Islands Pest Solutions has you covered. You can find them on Facebook or Instagram, or just search Five Islands Pest Solutions online. Give them a call on 0424 158 828. Because Roger spent years dealing with pests on the streets, now our sponsors deal with the ones in your house.